Welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Valentine's Day, February 14th, and we've just completed an hour-long work session and are now beginning our regular agenda. As always, you can pick up the Zoom links as well as the agenda items from our website at pleasantville-ny.gov. Based on the changes in the COVID regulations, this meeting, the February 14th meeting is, we anticipate the last meeting that will be held entirely by Zoom. And then for our meeting in 2 weeks on the 28th, we'll be returning in person to Village Hall, but also continuing a Zoom option for folks who would like to take advantage of that and preserve the advantages it has provided for folks who can participate. So, next time back at Village Hall, a couple of points to make on the schedule front. Tomorrow, the 15th, is the Village of Pleasantville Property Tax Grievance Night. And we will be parked down at the Senior Center from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. as required by state law. But there is also a Zoom link. In order to grieve your property taxes, you need to file the requisite paperwork with Lloyd Taish, our assessor. And Eric, what is the deadline for that? Does it have to do it tomorrow at the latest?
Yes, tomorrow by 5. We will be checking the drop box as well, located within the sliding doors of the police department. So folks can come up to the 3rd floor, drop it off, or drop it off in the drop box, and we will be checking it up until the last moment.
All right. The lay of the land there is that a couple of members are unable to attend, but we do have a quorum of 3 of us. So we will be at the Senior Center along with Lloyd, but also again at pleasantville-ny.gov. You can pick up on a Zoom link if you are so inclined. And also, to be clear, you do not have to attend either of those sessions as long as you file the paperwork. The assessor will review the case you have presented. So as reported, our next regular session is on the 28th. And then in the month of March, we're working our way through developing the draft budget. Eric and Noreen Regan and Haley Shaw and all of our department heads are working on that as we speak. We have a bunch of work sessions in the month of March to address various issues in our budget, to present what will become the tentative budget, which will get posted when, Eric? March?
I believe it's March. Stand by. It is March 18th.
Okay, so we're required by law to post a tentative budget, which will be posted by March 18th. That is not the final budget. Many aspects of it will not change, but some aspects of it may. And then we'll be having a presentation and public hearing on the village budget in the month of April. Got the date on that?
We are looking at April 11th right now.
Okay. So one of the things is we'll talk about that when we get to it, but we have on our agenda tonight, as we do every year, a resolution to allow us the right to break the tax cap. We do that on a pro forma basis annually to give us that option because there is a required waiting period and the like in order to get that paperwork in place. That doesn't mean that we've decided we will break the tax cap. It just gives us the possibility to do so and has the paperwork in place. We have done this for some years running, and many of those years without the expectation that we would break the tax cap. But we're working our way through the budget. If any of you have any comments on any of that, I encourage you to A, let any of us know, and B, weigh in when we come time to the public hearing. Anybody have other announcements to make? So, Nicole, you want to just mention the work session discussion about the leaf blower idea and the sort of preliminary schedule we have in mind to consider it?
Yeah, sure. So, some form of a leaf blower ordinance has been in the works or floating around for over a year now. So, having gotten a lot of feedback from the public, we are now going to put forward to a public hearing an ordinance that would ban only gas-powered leaf blowers from May 15th to, what did I say it was? Terrible.
October 1, I think.
October 1.
October 1, thank you. So in other words, would not affect spring and fall cleanup. And without going into too much depth, we talked about a number of things, including also a rebate program that the Climate Smart Task Force is working on. So to make it easier for those who are interested in buying an electric leaf blower to replace a gas-powered leaf blower, or to buy an electric lawnmower. Not that the legislation would affect lawnmowers, but so, keep an ear out for that as it comes forward. So right now we are considering having a public hearing for this ordinance on April 25th. And that's not set in stone yet, but that's a likely possibility. And we will be putting out more information ahead of time. And certainly once we have an ordinance that's actually written in the form of, in a legal form, that will be made public as well.
Thank you for that. And then the last thing I wanted to note is I'm sitting here in Albany, New York, having been here Sunday and Monday for the New York Conference of Mayors Legislative Conference. And on the 28th, I'll report in more detail. But in the work session, I gave my colleagues and whoever was listening in the work session an update on two matters of significant concern where the New York State budget and/or actions posed by legislators would override local zoning. One is in reference to accessory dwelling units, essentially apartments that are on the property of a single family home. And then the other is a thing called transit-oriented development, which would establish required zoning in a circle of 1/2 mile radius from a train station. In other words, a mile across, requiring us to rezone all of the land in that circle to permit multifamily dwelling units of minimum 25 units per acre. So both issues present significant concerns, chief among them the usurping of local zoning that has always been in a New York State home rule state, the rights and responsibilities of each community. In the case of the accessory dwelling unit, I think there's quite a bit more to be said. The village has an accessory dwelling unit law and has had for quite a long time. What's proposed by the state would be a good bit more lenient and significantly expand the rights of a homeowner to create an income producing or rental apartment in their house or in an outbuilding. And then the second item, the transit-oriented development proposal, is in the case of Pleasantville, an extremely alarming proposal that would force us to rezone areas that we have thought very carefully about for a very long time, and clearly, in my view, and I think the view of lots of folks, are not appropriate for rezoning for dense multifamily development. So a lot of conversations in Albany, a lot of, I think, open ears on the part of legislators. Our points were made clearly, and it's not Pleasantville alone. Obviously, there are many, many folks around the New York metro area and elsewhere that have great concerns about this. So stay tuned. We're on it, but I think we will put this stuff in summary up on our website at pleasantville-ny.gov so that members of the public have a chance to see it. And it may be, depending on how this develops in the coming days, that we will be seeking the support of community members to make sure that their legislators understand our concerns. So more later. Any other announcements or comments? Is there any comment or question from a member of the public? Raise your hand in the chat if you have such a thing. All right. Seeing none at the moment. Hold on.
See, Mr. Rooney keeps trying to raise a hand there. I don't know.
So Tom, we're in the webinar format. You say, why can we not speak as we could before? We're in the webinar format, which requires you to raise your hand and be added. We did that because in a circumstance where lots of people want to talk, it turned into a little bit of an unmanageable free for all. So if you have something you want to say, you can say it in the Q&A. If your concerns are going back to the leaf blower thing, I encourage you to send us emails and, of course, come or attend via Zoom when we have the public hearing on the leaf blower thing. So our decision to go to the webinar format is not in any way intended to chill commentary. It's just very hard to manage when you have lots of people who are all in the same Zoom and can talk at any point. So, okay. Next up is the quarterly update from our police chief, Eric Grutzner, who I see here on Zoom. Welcome, Eric Grutzner.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to be back here on the Zoom.
A quarter flies by faster than it seems it should.
Well, and this one, we were a little bit delayed. Normally, I would have been here a few weeks ago. So you will be seeing me in short order for the Q1 2022 update. We're already
always glad to see you.
Yes, exactly. So if I have never done a screen share in Zoom, so if Alyssa or Eric wants to give me that opportunity.
Hit that green thing. Are you unable to do it? Hold on.
I have a green thing.
See if it allows you to do it. If not, I'll modify you.
Oh, there we go. Let's go there. Just, is that on? You seeing that?
Try again now. Yeah, I just made you a co-host.
Hold on.
Hit the share screen thing in the middle of the bottom of your window.
I did that, and I picked the screen I want to share.
And then
share.
There you go. We got it.
Oh my! What do you see? Do you see?
We see your community policing PowerPoint. You can go into full screen mode if you want to get rid of the sidebar, but whatever you wish.
How's that?
That's good.
All right.
Still seeing that we're seeing the notes page as well. Are we? No, I guess we're seeing the second page. Whatever, it's fine. We can see it.
Okay. All right. Let's hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm going to do that. Oh, right.
Maybe display settings?
We see the next slide as a small item, but
no.
You know what? Let me try this. Do this. Try one thing.
I mean, that's fine. We can see it.
All right. I'm disappointed.
Well, is this PowerPoint?
It is.
Somebody, I use the Apple program, but isn't there somebody on Zoom who uses PowerPoint that knows what to click? No?
No.
Professor?
Did you try there in the bottom corner near the, oh, it's gone now.
No, I just hit the stop share screen there for a second. I'm going to try to get this.
Near where you can zoom, I think there's like a little PowerPoint full screen button in the bottom.
Yeah, I went to that, but for some
we did
reason.
that already.
Somebody says slideshow. I don't know if that helps, but.
So nobody is seeing anything because on one of my screens, my slideshow is up.
Now you're not sharing. You need to share again.
Let's try it this way. This.
Okay, now we see your desktop. Now we see, there you go.
Better?
There.
There you go.
I picked the wrong screen, I guess. All right. All right, very good.
Quit this chief business, become a PowerPoint guy.
No. All right. So yes, thank you very much, everybody, for the opportunity again. Tonight I'm gonna go through the quarterly update. I'm gonna try to move relatively quickly, not because for any reason other than I also would like to take this opportunity tonight to share our department goals for the year. These goals were formulated with the assistance of a number of people who we'll get to when we get there, but I sure want to make sure we take some extra time to go through those as well. So as far as the quarterly update, our call volume was increased quite a bit in this past quarter. You can see the breakdown of the most of the numbers are relatively the same. The location check is a little bit different in the fact that we participate with the counterterrorism. The New York State is broken up into multiple counterterrorism zones. We're in counterterrorism zone 3, and around holidays and large scale public events, we participate in the zone Operation Safeguard, in which we conduct location checks of different locations of interest throughout the village on a somewhat randomized but also somewhat planned cycle. So we did a number of those through this fourth quarter, which included multiple holidays. So we did increase quite a bit in our location checks, although we do them throughout the year. Obviously, this time of year, there's definitely more than other times. So as far as community policing is concerned, this is a photo that we took at the Nicholas Center. The Nicholas Center is down on Tompkins Avenue. It provides an opportunity, a program for adult people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. One of the challenges, the extreme challenges that those families face is once the kids are out of school, it becomes very difficult as their children get to be 18, 19, 20 years old and leave the formalized school setting where they can go all day, what they can do. And the Nicholas Center is trying to meet that need. They have a wonderful staff down there. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Nicholas Center and sort of how we've developed a nice little partnership with them in understanding that community and working with that community. This is a photograph here. You can see a couple different officers, Detective Zane, Officer Casal. In the back, in the middle is Sergeant Burwa, Sergeant Woods just to his right. So there was about 8 or 9 of us who attended. It was a Coffee with a Cop event in the beginning of October that we did. We went down and we just met it really was directed more toward the parents of the clients who were served at the Nicholas Center. So we had the opportunity to talk to some of the parents, get to know the clients, and really enjoyed, had a wonderful afternoon spending time with those folks. They're affiliated also with the Spectrum, so we got a little tour of that facility as well. This was before they moved into their new facility, or they're moving into their new facility in the same building, but they're going into a much bigger space. So we're very excited about the partnership that we're building with the Nicholas Center. So then in the short term, about a week and a half after we were down at their place, they came to visit us here at our place. So we did a little tour, including upstairs at Village Hall, as well as quick tour in the police department. And then outside, we showed them the police car and just kind of really building a relationship, trying to teach these folks that, we're here to help them. The same message you're trying to send to everybody basically in the community. We're here to help. We're here to make their lives easier in any way that we can. So as we've talked about before, Officer Dave Casal is our special needs liaison officer. So there was Dave's selfie right there. Dave does not, let's say Dave is not afraid of the camera or being in front of it. So he's a great liaison and a great ambassador for us with members of that community and their families, really trying to spread the word about what we can do for them and also find out what we can gain from them as far as training and familiarity. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go forward. Continuing with community policing, we've continued to partner with the schools. This was Mary Fox's last few months was in the quarter that we're discussing here, but I have been meeting with and speaking to on a regular basis our new superintendent, Dr. Tina Desa, really trying to build a similar, expecting completely to maintain the relationship that we had with the schools. Dr. Desa has been wonderful. She's been very open to continuing everything we're doing and continuing to look to expand our relationship. And we'll talk a little bit more about sort of starting to finalize some of the things that we've been planning up in the last few months with the schools that we're going to be starting up, and that'll be part of our goals presentation tonight. So some calls of note on October 4th. I don't like to put this many words on a PowerPoint slide, but in some of these things, it's really to the point. We received a 911 call reporting a young man sitting on the bridge on the Bedford Road that spans the Sawmill Parkway. So if you're walking out towards Pace University, it's that bridge that goes over the exit that's closed. It's that bridge right there. So we got a call that a young man was sitting on the wall of that bridge, and that there was another young man who was trying to talk to him. The person who drove by was not affiliated with this call, just saw it, thought it was extremely unusual, was very concerned about it. So they gave us a call. Officer Peter Burns responded and just did a phenomenal job in getting to this young man. There's a lot of challenges. There's really no surprise that, the young man saw Officer Burns coming, but Pete did a phenomenal job of getting close to him and being able to physically bring him back from the thing. So when Officer Burns first arrived, the young man was sitting with his legs on the sidewalk side. When he saw Officer Burns coming towards him, he swung his legs over as if he was going to jump in front of the Sawmill River Parkway. So the fall is significant, but obviously that would have brought the traffic on the Sawmill, the dangers of the traffic on the Sawmill into play. So he was secured. We called him an ambulance. We contacted his mother, and just a phenomenal piece of police work by Officer Burns on that. Little time after that, we had a 19-year-old man in his house acting unable to regulate himself. We had Sergeant Woods and Officer Casal on the road. Detective Charletti, Lieutenant Wallman, and Detective Sergeant Garcia responded from headquarters. We were able to secure him, to make him safe. And then the paramedic came and we've talked about this before, used a sedative to calm him down, so he was able to be transported to the hospital. If this call sounds familiar, it's because we talked about an extremely similar call the last time that I was in front of you with these quarterly board meetings. The reason I bring it up more than anything is just the acknowledgement that although this is something that we've dealt with twice in the span of 6 months, this is something that these families are dealing with on a daily basis. Maybe not the violence, but the unpredictability and the concerns and the fear. That is, it's calls like these, we are very, very thankful when these calls go well, but we do not take lightly and we do not take for granted that the nature of these calls makes them extremely dangerous for everyone involved. And so, like I said, we're going to be talking a little bit more in the goals presentation about sort of how we're going to make sure that we continue to attempt to be as proactive in preparing our officers to handling these situations as we can be. Middle of November, we got a call about a domestic dispute between a man and his wife. There was no violence involved, but it was some yelling and shouting. The officers arrived, talked to both parties, and it came to be discovered that the gentleman was in possession of some illegal firearms, modified AK-47 and 3 modified AR-15s. These are assault weapons, and these are long rifles. In addition, he had in possession high-capacity magazines that are illegal to possess. He did not brandish the weapons. The officers were never threatened with the weapons. However, bring this up, when these officers are responding on these calls, we never know what's behind the door. We never know the full history. We never know what to expect. In this case, the officers, through the course of their investigation, were able to discover that these weapons were at the house and they were being illegally possessed. But obviously, if someone is possessing these weapons, we don't expect he's the only person in the village who potentially has similar weapons, and we always have to be on guard of those factors whenever we're responding to homes. Okay, December 1st, restaurant on Bedford Road called and said they had just been robbed. So the young man comes in, he places an order. The person taking the order rings it up, opens the cash register, and at that point, the young man who placed the order shoves the employee back, grabs the money. There's a bit of a struggle back and forth over the receipts from the cash register, but the young man gets it and walks out. He is wearing a hat and a face covering, so there's very limited ability to do a personal identification, even though the clerk at the restaurant and the perpetrator had been face to face for some time. However, we had the ability to use some camera evidence, some video evidence, and as well as some technology. We partnered with Westchester County and their real-time crime center, as well as the FBI Safe Streets Task Force. We found out we secured the registration of the vehicle, secured the owner of the vehicle, found a nexus to Pleasantville, and were able to basically charge not only the driver, but also the actual perpetrator in committing that crime. So again, technology and its use in this day and age is critical to solving crimes, to preventing crimes, to having data and having information about what's going on at different locations throughout the village. And so again, I just want to thank the board for their previous and their continued support as we try to modernize, update, and get as much real-time evidence gathering tools at our disposal. So our staffing concerns, if you remember the last few times that I've been here, I've been very pleased with where our, especially our staffing and our overtime issues were. That the additions of Officer Charles and Paredes has been a great help through the beginning, the first half of the first half of the fiscal year, the beginning of the fiscal year. However, we did have a significant jump in overtime in the last 3 months from the quarter before. Some of that is seasonal with holidays, but we'll go a little bit more into the numbers. There are also some other reasons why we see such a dramatic spike in overtime. So if you look here, what the main drivers, what our significant drivers are, our sick time is down. If you look on the first column there, that tour coverage, if you recall, tour coverage is what we refer to basically holes in the schedule when we first outfit the schedule. We have some flexibility with a few of the officers in their schedules. The addition of officers, Paredes and Charles, allowed us to drop that tour coverage number down, those sort of anticipatable absences. We were able to really cut that number down. Our sick time came down significantly from quarter three. The things that really went up, however, were our special events, our school guard overtime, our reimbursables. I'll talk about what that is in just a second, and obviously COVID. That COVID spike towards the end of the year, we had a number of officers who had to manage COVID. And so although we were able to find our way through, that spike was a very, had a significant impact on our operations here in the department. So some of the couple of things, the special events were, we were back to sort of a more regular special event detail, especially in October and the beginning of November. And so we had the Ragamuffin Parade, we had Halloween, which are always big overtime constraints. The football games were back, we had those. And then of course the Holiday Sing at the Holiday Island there on Manville Road at Great Oak Lane. So we did see some certain areas increase. Our reimbursables, those are the catch-all, the umbrella term that we use for grants or other overtime, enforcement overtime, usually either by the state or by the county, to go out and have the officers being active, writing tickets, whether it's for speed enforcement, whether it's for seatbelt enforcement, whether it's for intoxicated driver enforcement. So those numbers also, as you can see, were very low in quarter three, but then jumped up quite a bit in quarter four. But that does not, although obviously it impacts our budget, we do, we will have that money reimbursed back to us, which is always helpful. Our enforcement activity, I bring this up mainly just the parking tickets, the return of the snow ordinance, and the enforcement of the snow ordinance throughout the village has been a significant part of our parking ticket enforcement. We did see, we see the traffic summonses are up too. The high traffic summonses really do mirror also when we do a lot of these grant enforcement details. So that is mirrored there quite closely and quite obviously. No personnel complaints were received this quarter. So our personnel and staffing, an ongoing discussion, an ongoing concern, which we've had. I'll touch on it just generally here. We do expect a number of retirements in the upcoming year, and we are spending a great deal of time making sure that we are doing our best to prepare for that and to have contingencies in place to handle those things with no impact. You know, obviously every organization needs to continue to grow and evolve. We're always bringing in new people. We're always losing new people. We're trying to maintain our continuity, make sure that we find the best possible candidates, as well as really become and represent really have the police department represent the village as it has been. One of our main concerns right now is our school guard. You saw our school guard overtime was up. School guard retention and hiring has been a concern. We're currently holding steady at this point. We are using one of our parking enforcement officers on a post regularly, which is not a terrible thing, but it's obviously not our most advantageous position. So we are continuing, and I would ask the community for their continued consideration of the possibility of either recommending us to someone else or of themselves, if anyone has any interest in what the terms of what that position might look like. Please feel free to contact me, and hopefully we can find a few more people to fill in. The weather is going to start getting nicer. It's going to start getting to be something where it's actually enjoyable to be outside for an hour, or an hour and a half. So we're really hopeful that we get some more people in to help serve the community in that regard. Some of the training that we've attended and that we've conducted, we requalified the entire department with firearms. We do that twice a year. 3 of our sergeants attended a unified in-service training for supervisors. It's a special course that was put together by the Westchester County Police. It provides legal updates as well as supervision and leadership training. So it's strictly for supervisors, road supervisors, first line supervisors throughout the county. So it's a great networking opportunity and a great way for the officers to get some legal updates and some additional training in. We sent Officer Erin Holly to what we call IDS, Instructor Development School. She is now certified by New York State to lead training, whether it's here in-house or potentially at the academy in front of the recruits or at an in-service training. Sergeant Burwa has joined the ranks of our community resource officers. We'll talk a little bit more about the community resource officers in just a minute, but we think they're a wonderful, it's a program that's been developed sort of, along the lines of what school resource officers do in the schools. Community resource officers are tasked to do in the community. We're going to try to get as many people in there and get as many people trained in the process, what we would expect all of our officers to do, but community resource officers have the training to potentially maximize that community relationship and really bring the department to the people and people into the department as much as possible. And Officer Dave Casal attended a 2-day officer wellness and peer support program. So he'll be available should one of our officers or an officer from another jurisdiction start to struggle with something that they've seen at work or had to deal with. We're coming to find out in the last few years that police officer mental health has been a need that has gone unfulfilled for a long time. We're hopeful and we're expecting that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even less, the language and the stigma around mental health for police officers changes. We are in the midst of what can only be called an epidemic of police suicides in the country. And so we're looking to make sure that our officers have someone in-house who they trust, who they can talk to potentially go and at least get the ball rolling as far as, have a kind and waiting ear to potentially push them in the right direction, whether it's towards some kind of therapy or some other resources that are out there for their mental health and their well-being. Some of our areas of concern, for the next 3 months, for the next quarter. We talked a little bit about personnel and staffing. So Sean Lyon, a resident, he grew up here in the village. He's been a police officer here for 20 years. He is due to retire this month. So Sean and I worked together for a long time. It's going to be impossible to replace Sean and what he has brought, his knowledge, not only of the village, but also he's a trained EMT, and he has been our point person on all things medical and first aid related for many, many years here. He has served in the investigations division. He's been a detective here. He's been one of our community policing officers. Sean has really done everything. He's been a friend. He has been a tremendous police officer. He has had an incredible impact on this village, and he is saying goodbye to us in just a few weeks. So his departure, along with other anticipated departures over the next 12 months, will be a challenge for us. No doubt we will never be able to replace Sean, but we do look forward to the opportunity to find someone else who will bring the same dedication and passion for their work and for this community as we saw from Sean for the last 20 years.
Let me intrude slightly with a little human interest piece about Sean Lyon, which is that he shared with me a piece of information that I didn't know. As the chief already mentioned, he grew up here. His father planted the tree on the traffic island at Manville and Edgewood that we light annually at the holiday season. And so although that tree is leaning a bit and perhaps it's approaching its point of retirement, it's got a very long history. So thank you to Sean and his father.
Absolutely. Our radio communications, we're starting to see some of our concerns. I will be coming to the board with a much more detailed presentation regarding what the future of our radio communications look like. But we are reaching end of life on some of our big ticket items, some of our hardware that we need to maintain. And so we're going to take a deep dive and look around and make sure that we're going to come up with the most efficient system and the best system for this village to make sure that our radio communications stay up to date. And then we'll be the continuation of the updating of our policies and procedures. I think I've mentioned it every time I've been here. We are transitioning to a new platform for our policies and procedures. We have begun the onboarding process for that. That will take a few more weeks, and then we expect to start bringing the officers in and updating and posting those policies and procedures internally to start for the officers to have readily available and really, as we've talked about before, really creating a culture of compliance, really having that reference book not be something that, oh, you know what, we probably should go and check, but officers routinely check for those policies that they are not familiar with. Many of our policies the officers use every day and are familiar with, and obviously we don't expect them to stop every time and open a book and every time they go on a call and try to remember how they're supposed to do their jobs. They're plenty capable of following the policies without them right in front of their face. But there are obviously opportunities when we would love the officers to be able to use our policy and procedure manual as a reference point on those unusual cases. Excuse me, on some of the cases we discussed today. We don't often have, we're lucky enough that we don't often have robberies going on in restaurants on Bedford Road. So we want to make sure that the officers who are on scene at the time have the knowledge and ability to make sure that we're doing everything that we can. So that transitions us, unless, does anybody have any questions or anything before we start the section about the goals?
So let me just intrude on something that I meant to refer to, but having you here is appropriate for this. We had a very serious house fire in the old village and last week, and I want to thank obviously first and foremost Madison Martineau and the team at the Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department, but also Chief, your folks who play such an important role in an event like that, and to the Pleasantville Volunteer Ambulance Corps that supports a fire scene. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family that lost their house, and obviously this community will look to help in any way they can.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Chief, I had a question. Good evening. Thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
I was looking at, I had heard about what happened on December 1st with break-in to the restaurant. And just today, there's some talk about something like this happening at the Thornwood Shopping Center at a Wine Spirits, I believe. Are you aware of that? I would imagine you are.
To be honest, actually, I had not heard about that. That happened just today.
Yes, there's word that something like that happened today, where someone went in and either looted or something. That's just something that's spreading on social media. I guess my question is, in talking to other departments, are you seeing that this is actually a trend that's happening? That there's a video also being shared that at the Westchester Mall there was a break-in, recently within the last 2 or 3 months. Someone broke in and it was a crazy scene. But is this something, I don't know if you're talking to other chiefs, is this something that we in Westchester should be concerned about? Are we seeing more? And is this actually, do you know if there's a reason why this is happening? It seems to be that there's an agenda that's being said that it's tied to bail reform. Are you aware of any of this happening at all?
So I will say that it is something that we as a group of chiefs are aware of. At our most recent meeting, there was some conversation about especially the White Plains incident, because it is obviously something that we take very seriously, and we're continually trying to figure out what best we can do to support the issue. Most of the take, I think, on it has been that in difficult economic times, we see a rise in property crimes. That's historical. That's just something that we've always expected and sort of has come out. Tying it to bail reform, I think we are seeing anecdotally, and I'm sure that there will be studies done to come up with more quantitative data on these types of things, but we are definitely seeing we're seeing the impacts anecdotally and in individual situations of the fact that in the past, people who potentially would have at least faced bail or potentially been held in waiting bail have been released automatically. There's plenty of documented cases where, we had one here where we arrested somebody for a crime and they had recently been released from another jurisdiction for committing a similar crime. Not to say that this was, that there was going to be a forced, that person would have automatically been off the streets. But I think as a profession and as a community, we are concerned that that the current bail reform as it's in place doesn't necessarily, it does not give the opportunity for the judge to consider the possibility that someone might recommit a crime. And that's a concern for us as far as public safety is concerned. We've stated that as an association of the Westchester County Chiefs Association multiple times that we would have liked. I've sat in on meetings with some of our legislative officials in regards to this conversation. We would love to have the opportunity to sit down and have a seat at the table while some real common sense bail reform was enacted. We haven't had that opportunity yet. What the impacts of that and the direct line, the straight line, we see what we see and we believe what we believe. And like I said, I'm confident that as time goes on, there will be some more qualitative data to back up sort of what we've seen here in Westchester.
So let me just add to that. As I certainly mentioned in the work session, I'm sitting here in Albany and end of the second day of the New York Conference of Mayors Legislative Conference. And one of the things the New York Conference of Mayors has made one of the top 10 legislative priorities is to allow public safety consideration in bail determinations. The issue being to allow judges to have the ability to consider public safety as a factor in making a bail determination, which, to be clear, they didn't have that right prior to bail reform. The purpose of bail was solely to secure the likelihood that the person would return for their hearing. But at any rate, the request by the New York Conference of Mayors asks for judges to be given that right, and in making the determination, the judges would be required to take into account prior record, the strength of the case, the nature of the current offense, and demonstrate the basis for the decision. So there does seem to be, there's certainly plenty of people in Albany talking about it, so stay tuned.
I can tell you further, the gentleman who robbed the restaurant on Bedford Road was released. He was ROR.
And to be clear, in many cases, crimes at that level, there was no significant bail. It was just a question of whether the person arrested had the capacity to pay it, right? $250 or whatever it might be, right? It's not like those kinds of crimes were, being presented with bail at a level that very few people could achieve. So, there's a lot to be said about it, right?
Yeah, there's, and I don't want to go too sidetracked on this, but felony robbery, that person would probably have been looking at bail that would have made it difficult for them to be released. Again, not to go to, they don't have very many. This person, one of the other factors that was always considered was ties to the community. This person really didn't have any ties to this community. So, bail is constantly, when we were able to take bail at the police desk, I would never speak for the judge, but when we took it, the goal was not to keep people in jail. We said bail so that people could be released, but we had something that would motivate them to come back.
Right, and that was the point of it. Obviously, a much wider discussion, not for tonight, but the basis for it was that folks, among the many bases for those who supported the bail reform, is that folks for the same crime and in the same circumstances, folks who had money got out and folks who didn't did not. So that was the argument.
All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. So, all right. So our goals for the year coming up. Number one, like to increase the presence of the officers in the school district buildings. We're going to do that for two reasons. One, we're going to build relationships through that partnership. And two, we're also going to give officers more familiarity of the buildings. So we have a few, and just as an aside, so this was one of the conversations that I had with, one of the first conversations I had with Dr. Desa after January 1st was about this specific idea. And she was extremely supportive about really making sure that the officers were in the school buildings as much as possible. Again, that is not a change from the previous administration in any way, shape, or form, but she was extremely supportive of this. We've worked out the details. She wants to make sure that both her staff and her families are aware that, if you regularly see a police car out in front of one or any of the school buildings, not to be alarmed, that this is simply the course of business, and these are all positive and good things. So the partnership with the schools and the police department is extremely strong.
So all true. Thank you for that, Chief, and I support it. Do you imagine that you can achieve this at the level you envision it without a significant staffing or overtime issue? So there will be, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to present each goal, and then I'm going to kind of give a few examples of how we're going to go about trying to accomplish them. Okay.
So the first one is walkthroughs. We're going to initiate a program. We've talked about this before. We're going to initiate a program whereby an officer is in each school building, is in one of the school buildings each and every school day. And, we want it to be less formal. We want it to give officers the opportunity to sort of move around. We understand that in the beginning, especially, all of a sudden a uniformed police officer walking through a school building is a distraction. There's no way to get around it. However, we think over time, we should be able to do that. And these are all going to happen while the officers are working. You're here on a day tour. Each one of the officers is going to be assigned. Today it's Bedford Road School. Today it's the middle school. Today it's the high school. Go in, announce yourself at the main office, and just see what's going on. maybe one day we'll be outside, throwing a ball around with the kids. Maybe one day we'll be walking down to the boiler room to see, where the heat comes from. We're really looking forward to sort of allowing the officers and allowing the staff to organically interact with each other. Every time we've given our officers the opportunity to do that, great partnerships have become even stronger. Additionally, we're going to do some drills. We participate already in the lockdown drills at the schools. We'll be on site for those as we have been in the past. But we're also in the process of setting up some training drills whereby we give the officers the opportunity to walk through, with more of it. We're going to have the officers in the buildings with more of a tactical mindset. How do you get from here to there? How do you go from this part to that part? The Bedford Road School is significantly a big square, so that's relatively easy. The middle school is pretty. Once you're in there a couple times, you start to get sort of a feel for it. The high school, it's just, it's a mess. So most of our officers would know if they had to go to the nurse's office where they should park and how they should go in. But if they were already in the cafeteria, would they be able to find the nurse's office without going back outside? It would be a challenge. And so we're going to make sure that we sort of formalize that a little bit. So that would be something outside. But we do have training days. We're excited about this training. Again, very much with the participation and the cooperation of the school and their personnel up there. Our second goal is to increase our outreach to engage with and build trust within segments of our community who may remain cautious interacting with law enforcement. This is something that we've talked about previously here with this group and with a number of other groups, especially through police reform. Sort of how do we get to people who are in this community who may be reluctant to be in touch with the police. I've spoken to Mr. Alvarez and a couple of our officers here about outreach to the Spanish-speaking community. We talked about event hosting, not just going out and having, sort of a meet and greet type of thing, but also having people in the building, find ways to creatively draw people in. We've been working with the Community Police Communication Advisory Committee. We've been meeting with them. Trustee Asquith has been a wonderful partner in that and making sure that we really outreach, whether it's a language barrier, whether it's how you identify, whatever the things are that people feel like maybe they need to, that the police department isn't for them. We're going to try to find a way to communicate with those folks and let them know that we are here for them as best as possible. Our CRO, our community resource officers, we're going to be, that's a relatively new program. We've managed to get 3 officers trained into that program in short order, but we're going to start, becoming actionable with that training and find out what it is that we can do to be more part of the community. And then our principal policing, again, training that all of the officers receive, because as many different programs as we put out, as many different opportunities as we have to put our best foot forward, in the end, we're not going to be able to build trust. We're not going to be able to maintain trust if we're still treating people in a way that makes them think that they don't want to interact with us. So we need to go out of our way to make sure that each and every officer on each and every call, again, I'm very confident in the ability the ability of our officers to be able to treat people with respect. I don't think this isn't training that's going to teach them anything new, but I think it's very important for us to keep it top of mind on a regular basis and make it a priority. And we believe that consistent training message does a good job of that. Our third goal is to enhance and improve our response to calls for mental health service and or involving persons with special needs. Again, we talked about those calls that we go on where people are in distress. We talked about the challenges that those families are regularly facing, but there's more to it than just that. We talked about our partnership previously with the Nicholas Center. They have been wonderful. They have offered to provide us with training for our officers. They're going to send someone over. We have not yet settled exactly on the training that we want to do. We obviously are building a partnership with those folks and the people who are clients there, but we also know that their training can translate to other people in other settings. We do quite a bit of training. We have provided some training, so we want to make sure we're not redundant in the training that we're providing. So we're working with the staff over there to come up with some inventive and different training opportunities through the Nicholas Center that we can provide to the officers. It's been a priority for us for crisis intervention training. It's a 40-hour class in which the officers really go in depth, finding out what it's like for people who are dealing with mental illness, who are dealing with intellectual and developmental disabilities, sort of how is it that we can reach them. Part of that training, as we've talked about before, is a firsthand interaction with people who are currently experiencing mental illness. This is a training that I attended some years ago, and still some of the best training that I've ever received. They had people there who were literally in the midst of, who were literally hearing voices. And this person was saying, I'm hearing voices right now, and the voices are telling me this. And it's eye-opening training. And so we've been committed. We've had a lot of support in the community to move forward with this. We have 2 officers already scheduled to attend this training in March. And it's something that we are definitely committed to, and we're going to continue to commit to. And last but not least, if you follow the weekly police blotter, you saw we had a call not too long ago, and we're able to activate the county crisis team. County crisis team, still in development. It is born of police reform. It's something that we had for years. Was basically a team of clinical healthcare workers who were able to respond to the scene of a person in distress and work with them and calm them down. In last week's police blotter, we had the opportunity to call them out. Important to note, the first people who are on, they will never get there before we do for a call involving someone who is actively in crisis or actively unable to regulate their behaviors. We will always be the first ones there. We are not ceding that responsibility to this community simply because it's not safe for us to do so. However, they are an invaluable resource once we get there and once we have control of the situation. To have mental health trained professionals available to assist us is a wonderful thing. I can tell you many times that I've been on calls, and once the crisis team gets there, you just feel better. So again, sometimes you get to a point where you might be able to control a person, connect with the person, build a rapport with the person, but you don't know what comes next. And you're not ready to leave, but you don't exactly know what else you can do. So having them there as an ally has been a wonderful thing in the past, and we're lucky enough that we have that opportunity again. Goal number 4, outreach, communication, and training to properly respond to incidents regarding bias. Again, this is definitely a concern we get from people in the community as far as how is bias handled at all levels. We need to be as thorough and as forward thinking as we can when it comes to bias. We need to make sure that people know that they have a safe place to come and speak to us. And at the same time, respecting people's requests for privacy and confidentiality. So, we know that last year and the last few years with COVID, the anti-Asian bias was increasing nationwide. We want to make sure that we're addressing any incidents that were to happen here in Pleasantville, we're addressing appropriately and as thoroughly as possible. To that end, we're going to continue to report to the board. Should anything come up that we can share with the board, we're going to make sure that gets out. So this way it's in your purview as well, and under, for your understanding as well. We're looking into different training specifically related to bias incidents, how officers can respond and potentially prevent bias incidents. And then we're looking forward to working with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee here in the village, and potentially in the schools if they were to seek out a partnership with us. We feel it's an important path that we need to continually be walking down. And lastly, direct training of officers to improve the quality of the service provided to the public and reduce liability. And that really does go towards our Power DMS, which is our platform that we discussed earlier. It's my goal to make sure that although I don't know that by the end of the year, I can have all the policies and procedures up there and updated as necessary. But we're going to be moving in that direction. We're going to be spending a lot of time this year making sure that our policies are as up to date as they can be, as inclusive as they can be, and as widely disseminated and available to the officers as they can be. So at this point, those are the 5 goals for the year. And that ends my presentation. If anyone has any questions, either about the goals or about the presentation in general or about anything at all, I'm happy to answer.
So thank you for that, Chief. Not only thank you for the good work of your team that is represented by this, but you have clearly taken many of the things that the community was interested in and not only taken them to heart, but turned them into real progress, both out on the street and with the community, and real progress within the department. So I thank you for that. Really very much appreciated and quite impressive. And I hope, as I think I already know, that your team is equally pleased at the new kinds of training opportunities, the new kinds of engagement, and the broader spectrum relationship with these different communities.
Yeah, I second that. Thank you so much for your presentation, Chief. I thought it was great. I've been following what's going on in the department, but it was really exciting to learn about your partnership with the Nicholas Center, for instance, and some of the other initiatives you described. I had a quick question about one of the incidents, the one that happened in November with the illegal guns. I was just curious, in a situation like that, what happens to the guns? Do you take them into possession, or how does that work?
Yep. So we'll take them and secure them, and then depending on, so some of those are simply illegal to possess in New York State due to the nature of the call. So on a normal domestic call, depending on how things go forward, people can go to family court, they can go through criminal court. There were really no chargeable crimes in this particular thing, but there are reports that we file with New York State anytime we respond to an incident involving people who are in any kind of domestic relationship. And so under normal circumstances, we probably would have either attempted to secure them, or someone would have potentially gone forward and said, looking for a court order to have those guns removed, even if it's just temporarily. If it is temporarily, then we would return that person their weapons once the case had been adjudicated and a judge determined it was safe to do so. In this case, any of these illegal weapons, they get destroyed.
Thank you. It's somewhat reassuring. The idea of other households like that, less reassuring.
Any other comments or questions?
Chief, I was looking at that, the break-in at the restaurant, the Taco Project, December 1st. Is there a reason why that wasn't on the police blotter?
So at the time that came out, that was still under investigation. So when it comes to the police blotter, and I've heard from more and more people, I have to say, I really thought that would be something that we would put together and it would be posted and nobody would read it. And then next week we do it all over again. And I've had more people come up to me and say that they really appreciate the blotter. We do it for a number of reasons, not the least of which is to give people an idea of what it is we actually do on a day-to-day basis. But there are some challenges to it, and there are some decisions that have to be made. So at the time that we produced the blotter, that we did not have those people in custody yet. So each time a case comes up, for the police blotter, we have to make that determination. Is there an investigation that's underway? Are there privacy concerns? At the top of the blotter, it says this is a selection. I don't know how many people actually notice that part of it, but that's not all of the blotters that we go on, or all the calls that we go on. We try to find a wide range of the different things that we do. And like I said, anything that's currently under investigation, if there's an investigation that we think publicizing the case, obviously it happened, late afternoon in the middle of town. It wasn't a secret, but it was definitely something that we thought publicizing that case would potentially impact the investigation. So that's why we kept it out.
Would it be, I mean, it's great that you presented it today, but there are a lot of people, even I think store owners in that strip right there, that didn't even know about it. Perhaps that would be something that, I mean, obviously we've talked about it today here, but it should be expressed, I think, especially because I don't really remember any time something like this happening to any of our businesses in any recent times. I don't know if you can remember anything like this happening normally.
I'd have to go back. I mean,
little things, but that seemed a little more planned, a little more.
Yeah,
scary.
I mean, yeah, it was. So we didn't really expect, not to go too deep into it because the case is still being prosecuted, but we really didn't expect that this was going to be something that was going to reoccur. We thought it was mostly a crime of opportunity, mainly just because of the random nature of it.
Okay, that's good to know. That's because I know a lot of us have businesses right here, and something like that could happen to any of them. So I think that's definitely a concern that me even coming from the side of the chamber, that I don't think a lot of people knew about it, and it just happened to be that it was like we were having the holiday lighting going on in that moment, that same exact moment. So it was kind of like, did someone know? But I guess it all just kind of fell a coincidence. But it was kind of odd when I had heard about it.
No, I understand. And that is definitely something that we, and that's something that we still sometimes have significant conversations about. I don't know what's on the screen right now, so I don't know if I need to change anything or do anything.
I can stop your sharing there.
There we go.
So that is something in the immediate aftermath of an incident, and even as time goes on, it's a constant conversation as far as what should be released. Is there a threat to the public? Is there a risk to the public? We had, if you remember, a few days ago, we had the pursuit on the Sawmill Parkway that ended, with 4 people jumping out of the cars and running off. And
right.
And in the process of sort of straightening all this out and getting information that we could potentially put out, it started to wrap up. Like we knew it was wrapping up. And so Eric is always very proactive whenever he gets his finger on the pulse of something that's happening in town, of reaching out to me and saying, hey, listen, what can we put out right now?
I think that's so valuable. And it's great communication between both of you two.
Yeah, there was a school board meeting going on at the time, and Dr. Desai texted me and said, should we be locking down? And, it really wasn't close to the schools. And obviously, if school is in session, these types of things take on a whole different sort of connotation. So it is definitely something that we work to make sure that our communication, especially our real-time communication, stays as timely and as efficient and as needed as it can be.
And I think I would add that you've been very good at that. And one of the conversations I've had with many people over many years is that we're very, very fortunate to live in a community that is remarkably safe, but that doesn't mean nothing ever happens. And there's some folks, when they find out that something did happen, whatever it may be, are sort of shocked to find out that such a thing could happen in Pleasantville, New York. And, part of it is to put in context, as reported, it's a very, very safe community. I mean, that's statistically true and anecdotally true. That doesn't mean nothing bad ever happens. I mean, as you have recently heard, lock your cars at night. If you leave your car unlocked, the whole region, not just Westchester, have had bands of folks looking for those crimes of opportunity. So nobody likes the feeling that they can't park their car in the driveway and not worry about it, but it happens. So I guess my message to the community is I think we'll be constantly revisiting the question of when folks have a timely need to know something, but I do think you can have a lot of faith in your department and in Eric Morrissey and the administration to make certain that we're constantly assessing the question of, okay, at what point is this something that folks need to know? And as the chief already mentioned, there are some circumstances where folks are interested in something, but for reasons of privacy or for reasons of the protection of an investigation, it's best not to have a lot of people talking about it. So. All right, anything further? With that, we'll send you off to the rest of your evening, Chief, whatever's left of it on this Valentine's Day. Hopefully you will not suffer.
Happy Valentine's Day, one and all. Thank you so much for the time and the continued
Exactly.
support.
Apologies to your spouse for trapping you on this day.
Peter, will we get some of those as well for our spouses personally?
All right. With that, let's head to our resolution items. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing, introductory local law 1 of 2022, override the property tax cap for the village fiscal year 2023. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Welcome to the public hearing. As I have mentioned in the past, and as we do every year, we pass this annually to give us the theoretical capacity to override the property tax cap in the event that it turns out to be necessary as we go through our budget process. In recent years, we've passed this very same law and not overridden the tax cap. It may very well be that we don't do that again this year, but we need to put this in place just in case. Any further comment on that, Eric?
No, I think you covered it all.
All right. Any comments or questions from the board or the public?
Nope.
Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So we move.
Second,
Second.
public hearing is closed. Thank you all. On to the resolutions. Paul, number 20.
Are you sharing them?
Peter, can you
Yeah.
share the screen?
Yeah, right. Hold on a sec here. I'm
Easier.
working in a limited screen real estate and have too many things stacked. Hold on a minute. I'm about to do it. All right, there you go.
Thank you. Result of the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the regular meeting held on January 24th, 2022. You can find the minutes and the Zoom transcript attached to this resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion approved. 21. Nicole. Okay.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments for fiscal year ending in 2022 as listed below. Budget transfers of the general fund, $375 from BOT.
If this goes on forever, I think it would be reasonable just to provide the amounts in each category and refer.
To summarize. Okay, so the budget transfers of the general fund is a total of $25,168. Increased revenue and expense in the general fund is $19,449.63. Budget transfers of the water fund is a total of $1,720. Appropriate fund balance of water fund is $28,231.
As further stated in the record. So,
Yes.
is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? All these are relatively modest amounts, squaring up various accounts and reflecting insurance recoveries, unexpected expenses, and a
Yep.
retirement payout.
Yep. Retirement payout was a recent employee. As we move through the budget process, we start doing projections for the rest of the year and we'll move money to cover over budget lines. And then one is the insurance recovery from Ida and the pool damage.
All right. Any further comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved. Michael, 27.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the donation of 2 Pleasantville Music Festival tickets for the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is just the formalization of circumstances where the music festival folks offer opportunities to others to attend, sometimes as a friendly gesture and sometimes as an opportunity to spread awareness of the festival. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Back to you, Paul. Number 22.
Resulted that based upon the recommendation of the village assessor, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following small claim settlement for the village assessment of the year of 2021 to 2022. Parcel 106.7-3-30, 23 Hongerville Lane. The original assessment was $59,750, reduced $54,500. Reduction in taxes was $512.71. Attached to this resolution is the SCAR decision on it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions about this resolution of attachment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 23, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the abstract for payment of claims dated February 14th, 2022 for fiscal year ending in 2022, covering check numbers 102678 to 102866. From the general fund, $405,418.71. From the water fund, $141,574.04. From the capital fund, $28,981.99. From the refuse fund, $24,750.95 for a total of $600,725.69. The details of the payment for claims are attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
As always, you can click into this in Nova's agenda, which you can get through pleasantville-ny.gov and see all the line items that back this up. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved. Michael, number 24.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby waive the 30-day requirement to local municipalities for a liquor license application by Jacob Burns Film Center, 364 Manville Road, to the New York State Liquor Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
You may recall that we acted on a similar thing last meeting or the meeting before. The Burns determined that they wanted to apply in a different category and has reissued the application. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 25. Back to you, Paul.
Result of the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the following donations to the Clinton Street Center from Kevin Coons and Lisa Peak for $100, Mickey Patane for $50, Robin Slatnik for $50, and Yuki Gordon for $100. Attached to the resolution is the donation letters from each one of these individuals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Enormously satisfying, as always, to see this kind of grassroots support for our senior programs, and several of these donations are in honor of a specific person. So very much appreciated. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved. 26, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the resignation of Jill Kukuza, Allison Poza, and Diana DiMarco, Recreation Assistance Panther Club, effective February 14th, 2022, and the resignation letters are attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Back to you, Michael.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees, in support of the Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department's annual parade on Friday, June 3rd, 2022, authorizes that no parking signs will be posted with restrictions in effect for Friday, June 3rd, 2022 from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the following locations: Memorial Plaza, Romer Avenue from Bedford Road to Clinton Street from Romer Avenue to Martling Avenue, Sunnyside Avenue from Bedford Road to Clinton Street, Martling Avenue from Bedford Road to Clinton Street, Guyon Street from Manville Road to Bedford Road, Orchard Street from Manville Road to Bedford Road, Bedford Road from Academy Street to Marble Avenue, Marble Avenue from Bedford Road to Manville Road, Manville Road from Marble Avenue to Grove Street. This is okay. Manville
word
Road
puzzle.
from Grove
Right.
Street to Great Oak Lane, Grove Street from Manville Road to Edgewood Avenue, Edgewood Avenue from Grove Street to Washington Avenue, Washington Avenue from Manville Road to Edgewood Avenue, and the parking spaces at the intersection of Manville Road and Rebecca Lane. And further resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the police chief to tow all vehicles violating this temporary parking restriction and to cancel the event due to adverse weather conditions or safety concerns. And further resolved, the Pleasantville Fire District shall provide proof of insurance for the event. And further resolved, approval is contingent upon COVID-19 rules and regulations in place on June 3rd, 2022. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the parade permit application from the Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department to conduct a parade on Friday, June 3rd, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Impressive, Michael, there.
It got, I went into kind of a trance for a moment.
Yeah, right.
It was like,
There's
it was like praying the
sometimes
rosary. It's like
You
praying
need
the
a Fordham
rosary.
professor to get through a resolution.
It was a bit like
Usually I
praying the
get that
rosary
one.
of street names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could turn into a puzzle. You know, what street name was missing? Great news. COVID willing, Friday, June 3rd, mark your calendars. One of the great days in Pleasantville, New York. So,
But may I ask about that COVID clause just before we proceed? Whose rules and regulations? You mean the counties? Does that mean the counties?
it would likely mean the county or the state.
That's right.
Because we're not going to impose any rules, I don't think, on outdoor events this summer. I wouldn't imagine as a.
I mean, we have deferred to the county and the state, I don't. Certainly, it's all pointing in the right direction. In July, we have scheduled the music festival. So,
Yeah.
As we reported many times, we don't have a health department, and we defer to those who do. That be the county and the state. So,
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask, have we
Calendar.
scheduled Pleasantville Day?
Good question. Paul was asking about that the other day as well. Mike Newman has been talking with Ben Sarabin about getting that off the ground. So yes, we will be holding it. It's either going to be the weekend of May 14th or May 21st. So those details are going to be released shortly and are being worked out right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Did we vote? I've lost track.
Yes, I think we did.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, then we can zip to, so I think we have a numbering issue here. We had two 28s.
Yes. So this will be
29.
So this is actually 29. We didn't have a 27, right?
right.
So the
27 was moved up,
Oh,
but I'll fix the numbering.
all right, well, what numbers do you want us to use going forward for the balance of them?
The next one is going to be 29.
Okay, so the resolution that I have on the screen that is called 28 is, can we read that as 29? Paul?
Result that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the hiring of the following part-time recreation assistant, job code 269, Jonathan Adrovo, $20 for rate, effective February 15th, 2021, for the Panther Club program.
Comments, questions? All in favor?
aye.
Hold it, I didn't get a second, right? Somebody?
Okay,
Please.
can I second my own? Is that
No, you
someone
can't.
has-
I
I'll
can't, right?
second.
No, Michael has it there.
All right,
Okay, so-
Nicole has
Second.
broken down and seconded. They're all in favor.
I feel like when we're in person, we can make it an honest competition. Like
Yeah.
When Steve used to sit next to me, he always tried to get it in first. But somehow on Zoom just kills the fun of that.
It does kill the fun. It kills the fun of a lot of things. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Back to you, Nicole, the former 29, now number 30.
Okay, so acknowledge merger and change in name of designated bank depository for village funds. Okay, there's
I would
there's
just
nothing
say
to read for the resolution, just
I
there's,
would
Yeah.
I would resolve acknowledgement of merger.
okay, resolved to acknowledge the merger and change in name of designated bank depository for village funds, and the letter of the bank merger is attached in the record.
Is there a second?
Second.
So the bank merger letter indicates that Sterling has been is being merged into Webster Bank.
That's correct.
Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. The former number 30 now, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Alyssa, but it's now 31.
Correct.
Whereas introductory local law 1 of 2022 has been introduced to consider the authorization to override tax cap for fiscal year 2023 budget. Whereas a public hearing concerning introductory law 1, local law 1 of 2022 was held and closed on February 14th, 2022. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby adopts local law 1 of 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
As reported, this doesn't mean we will override it. It simply gives us the right to do so. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Aye.
approved. The former 31, now 32. Back to you, Paul.
Result of the Board of Trustees hereby approves the hourly rate increase for the following recreation assistants. Daniel Sanchez from $20.50 to $25 for the after-school program, and Mark Sirico from $18 to $20 for also the after-school program.
Is there a second?
Second.
These are consistent with our normal pay rates for people in various slots.
That's correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. The former number 32, now 33. Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby schedules a public hearing for February 28th, 2022 at 8 p.m. to consider introductory local law 2 of 2022 to amend Chapter 173, Article 7, Section 66 of the Code of the Village of Pleasantville concerning parking on Bedford Terrace. The local law is attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
We discussed this earlier. This arises out of Michael Peppard's review. He being a resident of the old village and its environs, and is a proposal to create 15-minute parking for a period of a time on Bedford Terrace. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. The former number 33, now 34. Michael.
Resolved that metered parking in the Memorial Plaza parking lot shall be charged at a rate of 25 cents per 20 minutes, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we've talked about this in various different settings, but what we're doing in Memorial Plaza is adding some pay units where you go and type in your license number and pay at a meter, because we don't have meters at every space on the commuter side. But commuter permits will be appropriate for parking at all times, but the lot will become available after 10 a.m. on weekends for anyone to park, and they will go and pay at 25 cents per 20 minutes at this Muni meter. So the change here is that the side of the lot that has been theoretically reserved solely for permit parking and was pre-COVID heavily subscribed for that has been lightly used in the current environment and much more popular for transient parking. So we're revising the rules to allow that. Add to that, we're adding the requirement that transient parking pay on a Saturday as well. in part to be consistent with the rules and in part to discourage the number of cars that are parked there for the entire weekend and are in the way of our farm market activities. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. And Eric, when we're ready to roll this out, when the muni meters are in place, we'll have a significant communication effort to make sure people know what's going on and a grace period.
Absolutely.
on
Yeah. And the pay stations were installed on Friday. We're waiting to get electricity over to them. But as you said, yes, when they are ready to go, we're going to do a communication blitz, then also have a grace period where we issue warnings. So.
Great. All right. Number 35, now number 36. Paul, I'm back to you, right?
Yeah. Yep. Result of the Board of Trustees hereby approves the additional pay rates for recreation attendant Christian C. Moses, hourly rate of $20 for the recreation building supervisor and $20 for the youth program leader.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Last item on our list, which ought to be 36, right?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby waives the 30-day requirement to local municipalities for a liquor license application by Raconteur Hospitality, Inc., 10 Marble Avenue to the New York State Liquor Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, is this a potential new operator for the former Flights Bar?
That's correct. Yep, they've been in touch with the building department on their application as well, and we've reached out to Robert in conjunction with this request.
Okay. Good news to see that space re-inhabited. All in favor?
Aye. It's a
Aye.
good name.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there any proposed timeline given for that? It's the first I've heard of it.
No, not yet.
I mean, they have to go through this process to begin with before they can imagine doing it. So,
Yeah.
all right. That's the end of our regular resolutions. Any new business or comments from the public of any kind? All right. We have a brief executive session to follow. Can I have a motion to go into executive session on matters of personnel and real estate?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Thank you all. We're going to sign off and sign on to a different Zoom that Eric set up earlier and is in your email. Meanwhile, thanks to anyone who participated otherwise on our call. And we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks on February 28th. Happy Valentine's Day.